For the ones who get going when the going gets tough. And the ones who know we're tougher together. For the Pathfinders breaking new ground. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as fast access to experts and 24/7 customer support. Because we know you have people depending on you. So you can always depend on us. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is CBS Eye on the World. I'm John Batchelor with my colleague Gordon Chang at Gordon G. Chang, Gatestone Newsweek in the Hill. Wednesday, these hours, the first anniversary of China's central government imposing a controversial new national security law. I'm reading from CBS News Report. Human rights groups and Amnesty International took the opportunity to warn that the once freewheeling international city was on the fast track to devolving into a police state, that's a quote, and a human rights wasteland increasingly resembling mainland China. That's a quote. We welcome Mark Clifford, our longtime colleague, to inform us of the status of Apple Daily, the now closed-ended newspaper providing news to the people of Hong Kong about democracy and about everything else too, because it was an interesting presentation of reality in Hong Kong these last troubled years, the protests in 2019, the pandemic in 2020, and now the jailing, the prosecution, the condemnation, and the incarceration of Jimmy Lai, the man who ran Apple Daily, possessed Apple Daily, now stripped of his assets. The Next Digital company is the umbrella organization of Apple Daily, and we welcome Mark Clifford, who's traveling. He's in America. He's a director of Next Digital. Mark, it is a grim anniversary, but there it is, 1 year since the mainland stepped in and put a boot on the throat of Hong Kong, including Apple Daily. What can you tell us now about Jimmy Lai, his health, and his status? Good day to you, Mark.
Good day, John, and thank you. Good to be back on the show, despite this very somber anniversary. Jimmy is in jail. He's been in prison for 8 months now, over 200 days, and through intermediaries, through his family and attorneys, indirectly, we hear that he's in as good health as a 73-year-old diabetic man in an unair-conditioned prison can be. I think his spirits seem to be high. And he remains a potent symbol of resistance for the Hong Kong people and for Hong Kong to I think people around the world, in China and Hong Kong and around the world.
Gordon, a year ago when the mainland authority asserted its strength by invoking the national security law, did we know we'd be here 1 year later, Gordon? Was that all visible?
Yeah, I think it was, John, because as many people said, the national security law, which China imposed on Hong Kong, was really the end of law. And the reason why people said that was because the law was so vague, it basically gave Beijing the right and authority to do anything it wanted. So it was the end of the rule of law in Hong Kong. And we're certainly seeing that now in so many cases, not just Jimmy's.
You have a question for Mark, Gordon.
Mark, some people say that Hong Kong is more dangerous than Beijing, and the reason is that the people in China, mainland China, have a fairly good idea of the scope of what is permitted and what is not. But because things are changing in Hong Kong, people in the territory don't. What are your comments?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, Gordon, and I was reflecting when John was doing the introduction that people worried Hong Kong might become another mainland city. Well, in fact, as you suggest, it's much, much worse than many mainland cities. I mean, I think we have to think of places like Xinjiang, its capital Urumqi, Tibet, for the kind of treatment that the Chinese security authorities are meting out to the people of Hong Kong. We have no idea. For speaking as a director of Next Digital, I can tell you how frustrating and confusing it is, because we had 500 armed policemen come into the newsroom 2 weeks ago, root through everything, take personal details, take editorial material. It's been reported that I think the police said they're looking into 30-something articles. In fact, based on the questioning they did with the arrested staff people, it looks like they're looking at a couple hundred articles. They won't say what it is that they're looking for. I was reading about a guy, I know him very casually, who runs a children's clothing store, Chicky Duck. The authorities didn't like his pro-democracy activities. They came into the store recently and started taking pictures, taking the ID information of innocent shoppers who were there. And the guy, Herman Chow, the entrepreneur, said, well, can you tell me, what it is? Is there something that I should take down? The officer said, I'm not obligated to tell you. So basically the law is whatever the law says it is. I mean, it changes from day to day, and essentially it seems that if the authorities don't like you, you're guilty. End of story. It doesn't really matter what you did. And I'd say for China, as Chinese foreign minister told a former British Foreign Minister Malcolm Rifkin in the 1990s, we believe in rule of law. Everyone has to obey the law. That's what the law is for the Chinese Communist Party. It's a tool to enforce obedience. It is not a tool of fairness or justice.
Editors and editorial writers at Apple Daily are being detained, arrested, and having their lives challenged. Will that continue, Mark, to your knowledge, until everybody who writes for Apple Daily within reach of the mainland has been compromised?
Well, we shut down the newspapers, so I think we didn't want to put staff at further risk. Our CEO is Jimmy Lai, who's the controlling shareholder, former chairman, is in jail. He resigned his post before he went to prison. Our current CEO is being held, as far as I know, without charges on national security law purported violations. Our editor-in-chief, same thing, being held it's been 2 weeks now, no word. I'd say and a number of other editorial people have been swept up since then, and including one who was arrested at the airport as he was trying to leave the territory. So I would say the message has gotten through pretty clearly. Oh, and I didn't mention, they've frozen many of our assets. So we've got 600 people that we haven't been able to pay for their June salaries. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, it's beyond the kind of thing you'd see from a banana republic, let alone a place a country that is trying to make its place as a responsible stakeholder in the world. I mean, it's pathetic, honestly.
Mark, there are a couple of other news sites like Stand News, Hong Kong Free Press. What is their future?
Well, Stand News, which is an online-only publication, if we can call it that also had a very strong pro-democracy slant. Their board of directors have resigned, and they've taken many past articles off. There's a climate of total fear there. I know people who fled, in very, very short notice when they saw their colleagues being arrested. One of the editorial people from Apple sorry to focus so much on Apple, but I think it gives a sense of what's going on, was arrested as we were having the board meeting to decide when we would publish our final edition, which was, in fact, a week ago, last Thursday. We printed 1 million copies, more than 10 times our normal. Sold out. We could have probably printed 2 million. Sold 1 million copies, sold out in a city of 7.5 million people. So it's remarkable. There's still, I think, a spirit of resistance among the people of Hong Kong, but whether it's journalists or lawyers or now doctors and hospital workers, everybody's just gonna shut up, try to live and survive for a better day.
Mark, you're in the United States. Are you at risk? Is China capable of reaching into the U.S. to extradite? We have 30 seconds, Mark.
I think I personally am not at risk in the United States. I would not go back to Hong Kong at the moment. And I would say that if someone was an ethnic Chinese citizen, ethnic Chinese, particularly if they were born in the People's Republic, they can be at risk in the United States as they can be at risk almost everywhere, whether it's not a legal extradition, but they can be harassed, their families can be harassed, they can be beaten up, and bad things can happen.
Mark Clifford is a director of Next Digital, which is the umbrella of Apple Daily, now ended for the interregnum between the Chinese Communist Party and what comes next. Gordon Chang at Gordon G. Chang. This is CBS Eye on the World. I'm John Batchelor.
You're listening to CBS Eye on the World with John Batchelor.
Summer vacation, here we come.
Yep, I packed the craft beers I got at Total Wine.
Did you remember a bathing suit?
No, but I did pack a bunch of summer wines. Whites, rosés, Zinfandels.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, ridiculously low prices. Total Wine and more.
Summer vacation, here we come.
Yep, I packed the craft beers I got at Total Wine.
Did you remember a bathing suit?
No, but I did pack a bunch of summer wines. Whites, rosés, Zinfandels.
Wondrous selection, helpful guides, ridiculously low prices. Total Wine and more.